Hi everyone, it's Bobby Sanabria coming to you from my home in the beautiful Boogie Down Bronx. I'm here to give you a little bit of a primer on the basic building block, the engine, the rhythmic foundation of Cuban, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Haitian, and New Orleans music, which means it's the foundation of all of American popular music. The clave. As you can see, these are two sticks in my hand. I'm striking this pattern that has 3 attacks, 2 attacks, 3 attacks, 2 attacks. We commonly call this, in Cuban-based music, la clave de son, the clave of son. What is son? Son is the folk song music tradition of Eastern Cuba, and it is the foundation of what we call salsa today. And what is salsa? Basically, the way we play Cuban dance music in New York City as it's interpreted by the Puerto Rican community of both New York City and Puerto Rico. But where does this pattern come from? And how does it relate to the other forms of music that I mentioned, particularly the music of New Orleans, like I said before? Well, first of all, this comes from West and Central Africa, from bell rhythms in 6/8 meter. Now, me tapping this, you're probably imagining to yourselves, as young musicians, oh, I get it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you probably get the fact that we have 3 beats, or 3 attacks, and 2 attacks. And you probably by now have figured out that it's like a mathematical equation. And any mathematical equation can be reversed. So instead of 3 plus 2, we could have 2 plus 3. But let me get back to where this rhythm specifically comes from. We have many bell rhythms that come from West and Central Africa. And to give you a reference point of how the clave works not only in binary time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but also tertiary time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which is one of the things that we inherited from West and Central Africa. The concept of many meters and many rhythms happening at the same time. I'll tap this out with my right foot to give you a reference point. Now, you heard the clave before, right? Now, here's a bell rhythm, a common one from West and Central Africa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Now here's another common bell rhythm from West Africa in a different meter. Of course, that's in 4/4 or 2/2 time or 2/4 time. Since it's a 2-bar pattern, I can start it on the other side of the clave. Not on the 3 side, but on the 2 side. So I have to reverse the pattern. So the clave exists. The clave of song exists in binary time and in tertiary time. Binary time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and tertiary time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the music in and of itself, rhythmically, is so exciting because it's going back and forth between those two kinds of feels. Okay? When we say 3-2, we mean that we start with the 3 side of the clave, followed by the 2, the 2, the 2, the 2. When we say 2-3 clave of song, we start off with the 2 side. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Why is that so important? Because the rhythmic direction of any melody, whether it's 3-2 or 2-3, is determined by the rhythm of the melody. For example, ahora vengo yo, that's 3-2. If I sang, oye, qué rico ya mi son, oye, pero qué rico ya mi son. Notice how the rhythm of that melody falls on the 2 side. The rhythm of the first melody falls on the 3 side. We have one important note in the clave of son. That note is called the ponche, the last note of the 3 side. And the 3 side in and of itself is called the tresillo. That's the first part of our lesson on understanding clave. Hi everybody, Bobby Sanabria here for part 2 of our little introduction to clave. Now remember, this is just an introduction. It takes years to master the concepts, but I'm opening the door for you to realize that this rhythm that comes from Western Central Africa, as I said before in part 1, unites us all in popular American music. Whether you're from Cuba, Puerto Rico, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, or New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, we showed you in part 1 how this initiates binary time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tertiary time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And how it comes from bell rhythms in 6/8 meter from West Africa, particularly this one. And I showed you how it's important that you know the clave direction of any melody that you hear, and how the rhythms of the melody determine the clave's direction, because each melody that you hear has a rhythm to it, and that rhythm, that rhythmic content, not the intervals but the rhythmic content of the melody, determines the clave's direction. It's important that you know that, because we must maintain always the rhythmic integrity of whatever we're playing. And clave ensures that. If you played something that was in 2-3 against 3-2, it would be called cruzado or cruzao, crossed. And it would be like playing a wrong note in a chord. So in this music, you have wrong rhythms. For example, if I sang this melody, oye, que rico ya mi son, oye, que rico ya mi son, something's wrong there because the rhythms are not hooking up with the clave. I'm singing a melody in 2-3 against 3-2. But if I put it in the correct placement where the clave lies, because the melody is telling me that correct placement, oye, que rico ya mi son, oye, pero que rico ya mi son. Notice how it's like a lock and key. The music is energized, the rhythmic integrity is maintained, and the groove continues. Okay. Very important. We call this in the music clave consciousness, always being aware of the clave's position in the music. What do we call this? The clave of son, because it is utilized in song music from Eastern Cuba, the folk song tradition, the foundation of what we call salsa. What is the most important note? We call that the ponche, the punch. That's the last note of the 3-side of the clave of son. What do we call the 3-side of the clave of son? The tresillo means 3. 3. The ponche. The ponche. Okay. Now we have another style of clave rhythm that again is generated by bell rhythms in 6/8 meter from West and Central Africa. This is a little bit more syncopated. It's called the clave of rumba. What is rumba? It is the drumming, dancing, and vocal tradition of Havana and Matanzas that was developed in the late 19th century. And it is a fusion of Bantu, Congo, Efik-rooted and Yoruba-rooted drumming with Spanish styles of music, particularly flamenco vocalese from southern Spain, Arabic and Hebraic melodic elements as well, and of course dance from these nations in Africa that I just mentioned, along with zapateo from Spain, from southern Spain. Okay? Now, it's a rich, incredible tradition, and it fuels a lot of the modern music that we do play in Cuban musical dance styles. Now, this is the clave of son that I've been tapping out, the clave of rumba. Syncopated a little bit more. You notice on the 3-side of the clave, we have syncopation. 1, 2, and 3, 4. On the 2-side, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have syncopation against non-syncopation. Syncopation. No syncopation. Syncopation. No syncopation. So expansion, contraction. Expansion, contraction. Just like the heartbeat. Here is the clave of rumba again. Listen to how it has one syncopated note extra than the clave of son. Where does it come in? On the end of 4, on the 3-side. I'll play it now with my foot. What bell rhythm does it come from? This bell rhythm is 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll come in on the 2-side. Jingle bell rhythm in 4 or 2. Now on the 2 side, reverse. All right, we have one note that's very important. It's known as the bombo. It is the middle note of the 3 side. I'll do it very slow in 3-2 clave. Uh. If I started in 2-3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Remember, the clave simultaneously generates binary time and tertiary time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What other style of music generates this that you know as jazz musicians? What field is binary and tertiary? On part 3, we'll talk about that. Hi everybody, Bobby Sanabria back for part 3 of our tutorial on clave. Now in part 2 I left you with a question. I asked you a question. What style of music, particularly in jazz, or what field initiates this binary tertiary concept like the clave does in West African rooted music, West Central African rooted music? Well, check it out. If you said swing, you are correct. We have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And I'm doing what we call feathering the bass drum pedal for you young jazz drummers. And we have on top of the 1, 2, 3, 4, we have the tertiary time in the ride cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, from West African, Central African tradition. The drums talk. Drums talk, okay? So whenever you're playing swing, or something with a swing feel, you're initiating this. But all forms of popular music that we do today, which are generated, obviously, from the blues and jazz created in New Orleans, well, they have this binary tertiary concept too. Some more than others, but it's always present. If you listen to an old Beatles song, she loves you, yeah. When Ringo does that fill, broom, 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 he's initiating what? Tertiary time. That's the science behind it. You just feel it as something that's funky, groovy, and really hip, okay? But this concept is something we directly inherited from Western Central Africa. The concept of polymeters, many meters at the same time, and polyrhythms, many rhythms at the same time. Now remember, was only just a primer, okay? To really get into this, You really have to study it. And I want to emphasize one thing, important thing. These are not just patterns. They represent a culture. When you play jazz, when you play the blues, when you play any form of Afro-Latin music or any form of music from any other part of the world, you are playing culture. Remember that. It could be that you're playing in a punk rock band. You're representing the culture of that idiom, that genre. So don't look at these things in a superficial way as just saying, oh, I just got to learn a bunch of rhythms from a book or whatever. You really have to get into this and get into the culture. If you want to get more into the culture, I have a radio show from 9 to 11 on WBGO FM every Friday, Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Time. And WBGO FM is the #1 jazz station in the nation. My show is called the Latin Jazz Cruise. You can listen to the music there in full force in all of its varieties. Every country in Latin America has myriad number of styles. You'll hear them fused with jazz arranging technique and the spirit of the jazz improviser there. And if you want to hear the show online, simple, wbgo.org. And if you missed the show, you can always listen in the archive section. Go to WBGO Latin Jazz Cruise, CRUISC. So now you have a resource to hear the music. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Now, I said at the beginning of this that these clave patterns tie us all together, right? They unite us all. Why? Because they're found in all of the popular music that we hear today. If you're talking about something like mambo, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You say to yourself, oh yeah, I can hear that. But let's go to New Orleans, Louisiana. Don't drop the load. Don't drop the load. Hey, pretty mama, don't drop the load. Don't drop the load. Yeah, don't drop the load. Don't drop the I said it, get busy, get My name is Bobby Sanabria, and may your lives always be in clave. Aquí entre las flores. Thank you so much. See you sooner than later.